So it's been about 6 months since we last did an update in this region, Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. There's a lot to cover, and what we think these videos bring you is a lot of context. You can understand the news stories, but they're set in, well, what's been happening, what's the bigger picture. Today, Suriname. So many planned wells. It's going to be a very, very busy year for exploration. Guyana, development plans and block updates. There's been a lot of activity, lots of developments, many in the Stabroek block. And Trinidad and Tobago, lots of challenge developments, new bidding round, discoveries aplenty. So stand by. It's the 23rd of May 2025, and here's a roundup of what's been happening so far. We're going to start with Suriname. I guess it's not news exactly, but in Suriname we've had the TotalEnergies Krabdagu and Sapakara discoveries. Now these are in Block 58, which is 50% TotalEnergies, and APA, who used to be known as Apache, 50%. So Gran Morgu refers to the Goliath grouper, a fish found in the country's coastal waters that symbolizes strength and longevity. Also means a new dawn, as in the new dawn for the Suriname economy. It's to be an electric FPSO, no flaring, re-injecting gas, so very eco-friendly. 760 million barrels of oil between the two accumulations. FID was made in October 2024, a $10 billion deal signed, and it's targeted to produce or start producing in 2028 220,000 barrels of oil per day. This is a major accumulation, major development. Now, Saipem have secured a $1.9 billion subsea contract, which was announced back in November of 2024. And Technip FMC, they're going to be supplying the subsea trees. That's a deal worth around about $1 billion. This is huge, big numbers. Very exciting. Watch this space. So in the news, PetroChina, they're entering Suriname. They're going to be joining in the production sharing contracts, or PSCs as they're known, in blocks 14 and 15. You can see them pointed out here on the map. Part of the Suriname Shallow Offshore Bid Round 2, which is the 2023-2024 bid round. And within the blocks, water depths around about 50 to 150 meters. Exciting. We'll be watching that and reporting in the future. Now we're going to go on and look at Block 52, and within this area, ExxonMobil have formally withdrawn from Block 52. Now here's the seismic vessel from Shearwater, that very excellent seismic company. Basically, the Exxon withdrawal means that Petronas are now in control and steering the future development of this block. Also in Suriname, Shell are returning. They're going to be entering into Block 65 and planning on drilling the Araku Deep 1 well. This is expected to spud in the second half 2025. They'll be using the Stena Drill Max. So more activity here in Block 65. But we've got Block 64 just up to the north there. And it's TotalEnergies. They're going to be drilling the Macaw 1 well. Expected, well, it's probably spud by now. It was expected to have. It's using the Stena Drill Max. It's going to be the first of 5 wells, 3 of which are outside of the Golden Lane. It was reported earlier in the year for Suriname that there were wells to watch, the list, and it was oilprice.com. Within their top 5 wells to watch in 2025 was the prospect Korikori. Now it's a Chevron-operated Block 5. They've got a 40% interest with Qatar Energy 20%, Stasoli, also known as Paradise Oil, 40%. Scheduled to spud and be drilled in the fourth quarter 2025 in water depths of around about 30 to 45 meters. Going to be interesting to watch this one. Good luck with that, Chevron. So, moving on rapidly, Guyana. So here's a question. Are you a Guyana citizen? If you are, well, the government, and here's the president, Mohammed Irfan Ali, who's announced recently that every Guyanese citizen will be due £370, or in international money, $500. And this is a payout because of the mind-boggling oil wealth that the economy in Guyana has actually tripled since the start of oil extraction back in 2019. So the citizens are actually getting something, not a huge amount, but probably very, very significant and making a difference. What's happening? Well, the Stabroek block, it just goes on, getting bigger and bigger. The FPSOs we highlight here, Liza Destiny, Liza Unity, Prosperity, the One Guyana, which is going to be used on yellowtail and redtail, not yet producing, but we'll see an update on this next slide. In the future, the FPSOs, well, it's going to be the Area Witu, or the Abundance, and that's going to be in the Uaru discovery, targeting first oil 2026, Jaguar, which is on Whiptail 2027, and the unnamed vessel on Hammerhead 2029. So lots of activity, lots of bills, lots of new production coming along. Guyana, a great future ahead. Oh, and I missed one. There's the unnamed FPSO. It's going to be targeting longtail. So let's have a look at Yellowtail. Now, this is the fourth development, and what a vessel. Look at that. On the right-hand side there, you can see the flare. It's got to be very high up because the radiant heat that comes from this when they happen to be flaring any gas, it really, really gets very, very hot on the deck. Look at all this equipment on this deck. My goodness me. Here at the front end, there'll be a blast wall here, the accommodation, there's the heli deck. This is an amazing complex. I mean, if this was built on land, it would cover huge areas, but it's not practical offshore. So it all has to be packed in quite tightly together. ExxonMobil, the operator in the Stabroek block. Well, the next development is Uaru. It's going to be the fifth, Whiptail the sixth, and they're both moving ahead. A couple of things to note. In February 2025, Baker Hughes, they won the contract to supply chemicals for topside subsea water injection and utility for the Area Witu and Jaguar FPSOs. Area Witu startup 2026, Jaguar 2027, and we're talking about, and this is an amazing number, this is 91 wells, producers and injectors that are planned for these developments. This is a massive investment by ExxonMobil and partners. This is what a development might look like. Here's the floating storage unit, an FPSO with all the production facilities on the top sides, the storage tanks underneath, offloading capacity. Here's the mooring system here, all the mooring lines, the flow lines, the risers going out. And this is all the subsea wells all being tied back, the umbilicals to actually control these manifolds. And it's going to be, this is the sort of architecture that we're having to talk about here in these deep water developments. Now, MODEC has been awarded a contract for the seventh development, which is going to be for the Hammerhead discovery. It's going to be an FPSO with around about 150,000 barrels of oil per day capacity and 90 million cubic feet of gas a day. And that was announced April 2025. Now, staying in the Stabroek block, we're talking about the Longtail development. Now, this is going to be the eighth development. It's been confirmed. Longtail, Triple Tail, and Turbot discoveries. It's going to be 1.5 billion cubic feet of gas per day and 290,000 barrels of condensate per day. So this is a big gas condensate accumulation. This is a key development for ExxonMobil. There's been pressure from the Guyanese government. They want to see it captured, they want to see it exported, they want to see value for it. Now, the first gas-focused development should be Longtail. It's possibly going to set up a liquefied natural gas export facility or used as part of the petrochemicals business, which Guyana is hoping to develop down the line. Now, the Longtail project, another massive project, 60 production and injection wells, again, all operated by ExxonMobil. There's our entry for Longtail, and we keep adding to this all the time. If you haven't got Trove, you don't know what's going on. Likewise, there's the entries for Triple Tail and Turbot. I don't expect you're going to be able to see any of the detail in here, but believe me, lots of information in your Trove database. So ExxonMobil and partners have been focused on developments, but exploration has resumed. In the Barrel Eye discovery of 2022, they found a 70-meter hydrocarbon-bearing sandstone in the first well, and Barrel Eye 2, which is an appraisal well, is currently drilling. It spudded back on the 6th of April 2025, and we anticipate we should know the result of that before too long. Subscribe to the channel. Come back here. We'll tell you everything that is available to know about the Barrel Eye appraisal well, and we wish ExxonMobil every success in that drilling campaign. I would expect it's going to be somewhere between 60 and 80 days to actually find this result. Now, ExxonMobil are about to conduct a 4D seismic survey. Now, what does that mean? Well, they have shearwater geoservices. Here's the ships here. They're driving along and they actually put out the seismic source, the signal. It bounces into the subsurface and comes up to these nodes here. They're basically ocean bottom nodes, or OBN. It's sort of a reservoir surveillance program, great for seeing how things change over time. So hence that's why it's called 4D. It's like a 3D but repeated over a period of time, so that you can actually watch how the fluids within the reservoir, the oil gets replaced by water, and it has a different signal. So this survey expected to take about 6 months. It's taking place in the first half of 2025, and it will actually help in the future development of the reservoirs and understanding how the recovery is going within the field. This is a bit of an odd story that cropped up, and this is a little rumour to dispel. Now, ExxonMobil were awarded a shallow water block, the S8 block, see there on the map, and back in 2022, and it was in partnership with the Chinese National Oil Corporation and Hess. Now, the rumour was that they were walking away from the shallow water, but this was actually confirmed to be incorrect, some kind of a misunderstanding. I've no idea what this story is about, but anyway, ExxonMobil aren't walking away. They're intent on looking at this S8 block in the shallow water just off Guyana with a view to exploring that. So, Corentyne update? Well, not entirely sure what's going on with Corentyne. I mean, there have been some discoveries. We've covered them in previous videos, but in February 2025, the company's ended up being given a 30-day notice of the license to be cancelled. Now, the government cite no reasonable grounds to extend the license, and the JV argued they're entering the appraisal phase for the Whale 1, with plans for first oil in 2030 and FID expected in 2026. Kawa is another discovery on the block, and we've done videos detailing what these discoveries are, so have a look at the playlists for this area. This is CGX Energy and Frontera Energy Group. They're appealing, and the government say that they've already been lenient to the JV when struggling to meet license commitments previously. Now, JVs, there are issues of getting, the logistics of actually getting a drill ship or a deep water unit here to actually drill these wells, and financially challenging. I would say that from my understanding, CGX have really made a major commitment to Guyana over a series of decades, and cutting a bit of slack there. They're doing as well as they can. They can't control the geology, and they've made a good start with some interesting discoveries. So now we come to the Hess Chevron deal. Well, why is this significant? Well, of course, Hess were the target and were going to be taken out by Chevron. This is a corporate deal at the very highest level. It's a worldwide deal. But, of course, the impact here within Guyana is the fact that, well, Hess are involved in the Stabroek block, and partners in the block, Exxon and CNOOC, basically contested the sale with Hess, and they claim that under the joint operating agreement that they have on this block, that they have preemptive rights over Hess's share in Stabroek. This is one for the lawyers. It's been going on for a long, long time. What's going to happen? We're going to hear soon, and somebody's going to be unhappy at the outcome, that's for sure. We'll be covering it in a future video. Now, the first hearing, supposedly set for May 2025. If I was to bet, this will drag on for months, if not years. Now, another area that makes the news is the tensions with Venezuela. Venezuela had no interest whatsoever in Guyana until all this oil was found, and all of a sudden now they've got an interest. Now the US are warning Venezuela that when their vessels threatened FPSOs in the Stabroek block to back off, hey, watch out. And really, I hope this gets resolved. Nobody needs this. This is politicians and nonsense. I mean, Guyana is established. They've had this acreage for a long, long time. They've got things going, and hopefully it can be resolved without interference from too many of these wonderful politicians. I want to move on now and talk about Trinidad and Tobago. Lots happening in terms of one of the median line developments, and this is with Venezuela. Of course, Venezuela It's being affected by all the sanctions that are going on. We've had Biden, we've had Trump in the US. It's a large cross-border field. FID needs to be taken in early 2026 to achieve first gas in 2027. But what is the US policy on sanctions? So you can see on the bottom the timeline. This is from Welligence, looking at the effective date of January 2024. The timelines and what was expected when we get to the expiration of the license. It takes a long time for a major discovery like Dragon to actually come on. When it crosses country boundaries, hopefully this will get resolved. The US, they've revoked licenses for Trinidad, Venezuela gas projects back in April 2025. Oh dear, the politicians have done it again, but this is a major development that could come forward. It could benefit both countries, and we hope that this will get resolved. Other fields affected in Cocuina-Manakin, well, both of these opportunities here. Dragon you can see up in the northwest, Cocuina you can see down in the southeast, but in both cases it's actually bordering with Venezuela, and they are substantial fields that are key to the gas supply in the Caribbean region. Now, Cocuina and Manakin and Trinidad and Tobago National Oil Company were awarded the license from Venezuela back in July of 2024, but the licenses were expected to be extended and not curtailed. Now, along comes President Trump, and he's revoked Chevron's Venezuelan oil export license. This is a mess. This whole area needs to get resolved. But any issues there are with Venezuela, hey, let's not discriminate against Trinidad and Tobago. Let's hopefully this gets resolved. And I'm a big fan of seeing Venezuela and the Venezuelan people getting the just rewards and actually growing their economy, and this sort of stuff not helping. Manatee, well, it's another cross-border field with, yes, you guessed it, Venezuela. On the Venezuelan side, the field is known as Loran, but on the Trinidad and Tobago side, it's known as Manatee. Now, this is Shell 100%, and they declared FID back in July 2024. That means they've basically said, hey, we're going to commit to developing this, with a startup expected for the first production in 2027. Now, anticipated this could be of the order of about over 100,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. Now, KBR were awarded the work after a successful FEED study. Subsea structures fabricated by Navantia in the UK. First steel was cut in Arnish in Scotland, April 2025. Now, Shell is trying to grow its LNG business, and some of the fields in this region, they would certainly promote an LNG-sized development. So now moving on to Ginger and Fragipani. And this is BP, Trinidad and Tobago. Legacy, Amoco, of course. 100% operator in the region, and they've announced an FID on Ginger. Fragipani 1 was announced as a discovery with multiple stacked gas-bearing reservoirs. Ginger, this should be BP Trinidad's fourth subsea project. There are 4 subsea wells and subsea trees tied back to the existing Mahogany B platform. First gas expected in 2027, targeting 62,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. Good luck with that. Next up, we're going to have a look at Cypre. Now, Cypre, as we saw at the map, down in the southeast of the Columbus Basin, well, in April 2025, first gas was announced by BP. This is quite a small-looking platform, but it's one of BP's 10 major projects worldwide from now until 2027. It's actually their third subsea development. There's 7 wells going to be tied back to the Juniper platform, and peak production expected to be of the order of 45,000 barrels of oil equivalent. It's currently producing from 4 wells, so there is the platform. That's a compact little thing. So EOG came out in May 2025 and announced that, well, they're looking to fast-track their new shallow water discovery over in the Columbus Basin. Now, the Columbus Basin, really well known for all the gas that's been found, but this is an oil discovery. Quite unusual. This is in the TSP deep area. It's located in about 170 feet of water, and the well found 125 plus feet of high quality oil bearing net pay. This is great news for the area and a very, very exciting discovery. We wish them well. So another discovery, a gas discovery by Perenco at Onyx. Now, it's very early days for this, reported in upstream significant columns of natural gas. So good luck with Perenco. Hopefully this could be another future development for Trinidad and Tobago. Now, an update on the deep water bid round. The government of Trinidad and Tobago announced a deep water round opened on the 27th of January. Now, the closing date is the 2nd of July, so still a little bit of time left. 26 blocks are on offer and they're shown on the map here. It's a fascinating area and lots of potential, I'm sure, within the region. Now, we have done videos galore in this region, Suriname, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago, also looking across the conjugate margin at Namibia. If you sat down and watched these back-to-back, 4.9 hours of technical analysis. Now, this is a sort of an ideal Trovathon. Binge watch the entire playlist or seek some medical advice, I suppose. In fact, if you look at all of our videos that we've done across all the regions, you can watch for over 24 hours, but I think there's better things to be doing in a day. So, in conclusion, what's been happening? Well, in terms of exploration activity, lots is happening in Suriname, in the region, and 2025 looks like it could be on course to be a record year for the number of exploratory wells in the region. Check back on our channel and find the updates and the outcomes of these wells. Guyana, well, activity to date has been focused mainly on the developments and particularly in the Stabroek block with ExxonMobil. But we're waiting to see what's going to happen in Quarantine with CGX and hopefully that all gets resolved. Trinidad and Tobago struggles to increase output. Well, that's with the US sanctions on Venezuela and quite where this is going, I have no idea, but it's certainly causing a problem for the continued progression of liquefied natural gas projects in Trinidad and Tobago. But we've seen a number of very interesting discoveries in 2025 and that nice oil discovery there in the Columbus Basin. We'll be keeping an eye on that too. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed our video and you'll come back to our channel and see the next update. Bye for now. Oh, remember, subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. That really helps. Ring the bell if you want to be informed when we come out with a new video. There's the website. There's the email address. Please, if you've got information or if we've made a mistake, let us know. We'll update it in our next video. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed and continue to enjoy our channel.